Bonita almost smiled when she saw Lady Queen's serious expression and bright eyes, but despite that, she didn't want the other to actually do what she had suggested. She was just trying to ease the tension in the air, that's all. However, she didn't realize that her vulnerability was evident in her voice and her gaze, allowing the other person to capture her feelings. "I'm kidding, I can take a shower by myself." "Oh, really? And do I look like someone you can play with like that?" The girl raised an eyebrow, as if she was pondering the answer, but in reality, she just wanted to tease her. Her intention was just that. She still wanted to hide in a quiet corner to think. Seeing Lady Queen's family reminded her of her own, and the difference between them was stark. The affection Queen received from her mother was based on the desire for her to have the best and most suitable. Bonita has always been just a set of expectations. She always had to meet all of her family's demands, even being handed over to Kem so easily, just for money. And if she had to put a value on the amount she received, she found it insignificant compared to her freedom and happiness, which would be stolen from her forever. Lost in thought again, Bonita smiled softly. "I can take a shower by myself, really." Kirathat frowned before nodding, not insisting. Bonita's expression showed that something was bothering her, and she didn't want to force her to talk. Just the fact that the girl acted normally, as if nothing had happened at the university, was surprising enough. Not a single tear was shed as she carried her out. Her calmness was so great that it made her uneasy. "I'll set aside some clothes for you." "Thanks. And since when do you need to thank me?" Kirathat's expression was neutral as she asked, but the attention Bonita received from her warmed her heart a little. "You are." Miss Queen really was someone full of tricks and games. Bonita sighed and approached, raising her hands to thank her as she always did between them. But before she could complete the gesture, she was pulled into a firm hug, feeling the warmth of the other's body against hers. Was Miss Queen hugging her? "If you are hurt, tell me. I can see the wounds on your body, but not the ones in your heart." Her voice was much softer and more welcoming than usual, to the point that it made Bonita's heart flutter. Maybe that was what she wanted all along. Someone to hold her when she was at her wit's end. Someone who would let her be herself, without having to change. "Are you trying to be more affectionate now? Stop arguing. When you're with me, you can be whatever you want. Strong, weak, smiling, wrong. You don't need to pretend to be happy to hide anything. And I can also be whoever I want." That sounds like emotional blackmail, but you won't refuse, will you? You're so conceited, and why do you want to turn me into a dog so much? Kirathat tightened her grip for a moment as punishment before relaxing it. For the first time, Bonita returned the gesture, hugging her back. A hug that made her allow herself to surrender, without fear that the other would let her fall. The trust that was growing between them couldn't be measured in numbers. In the end, it was just something she felt, and it wasn't that simple to define. "I want a dog, and that's why you turned me into one. A wolf, actually. It's not an easy thing to find. You like to bite, squeeze, tease. That suits you, don't you think? You talk nonsense." Bonita laughed, absorbing the other's body heat until she was satisfied. Then she pulled away. After all, Queen was incredibly perceptive at noticing other people's feelings. And she still had the special talent of making her heart waver. "I'm going to take a bath now." When her back hit the marble table, the pain intensified. She didn't even need to look in the mirror to know she was hurt. Her elbows ached, and the scrapes on her arms were the least of her problems. "Don't let the water touch your wounds. It's difficult to take a shower like this." "Then let me help you." Kirathat said this in such a serious tone that it made Bonita raise an eyebrow and then smile slightly, teasing her. Then, she stood on her tiptoes and placed a kiss on her chin as a reward for her indirect concern. Kirathat's expression almost broke into a smile, but she managed to maintain her seriousness in time. "If you're worried, just say so. Wasn't that clear enough? I don't know. Just don't forget to separate my clothes." Bonita walked away and entered the bathroom. As soon as she closed the door, Her shoulders slumped. The weight of the air seemed to crush her, and she couldn't bear it any longer. If she wanted to be swallowed by the earth right now, she would just accept it because she was exhausted. She tried so hard to look strong in front of Queen. Just now, she almost cried when she was hugged. She slowly took off her clothes, hanging them on the wall before stepping into the wet part of the bathroom and turning on the shower. The water ran down her body, but she didn't care if her wounds stung. At that moment, she just wanted to wash away some of the weight she carried in her soul. She just wanted to live her own life. That didn't mean she didn't care about her mother. She had already given her everything she could, but she couldn't give up the rest of her life. Living a living hell was unbearable, even more so next to someone you didn't love. She felt repulsed every time Kem looked at her lewdly. The sound of his breathing when they were close, his forced touches. Never, not once, did she feel safe or warm in his presence. If she had to marry him, as her mother wanted, then she could be called an ungrateful daughter. But she couldn't do it, and she was tired of her mother not letting her live her own way. Not even in public did she worry about hiding what she did. Tiredness took over Benita, and she curled up on the floor, hugging her knees as the shower water poured down on her. Tears mixed with the water, becoming indistinguishable. But her red eyes and nose were proof enough of her pain. The soft sound of her sobs filled the bathroom. Her physical wounds had been carefully cleaned, but the shower water made them wet again. But at that moment, that didn't matter. Kirafat sighed. She had stood in front of the bathroom door for so long that she could hear Benita's sobs escaping her even over the constant sound of the shower. The sound of the water was uniform, so any unusual noises stood out easily. The young woman dropped what she was holding, took off her clothes, and grabbed a bathrobe before opening the door and walking inside. She carefully placed everything on the edge of the sink. Kirafat walked in and saw Benita flinch in surprise. The girl quickly wiped away her tears and turned away, but it was no use. Kirafat had no reason to be ashamed, and neither did Benita. I already told you not to get that wound wet. She pretended to be serious and approached naturally. Do you want me to give you a real bath, huh? And no, so, do you really want to sit on the bathroom floor? That's not good. Finish your bath and go rest. I'm not sleepy yet. You'll be soon. And if you want to cry, don't cry alone. Got it? Don't treat me like I care about you. This time, Kirafat spoke clearly, and Benita found no words to retort. She simply held out her hand, letting Kirafat help her up. Her body remained rigid, like a robot, even as Kirafat's touch as she washed her body sent shivers and sensations spreading throughout her. Don't make that sound. What sound? The one now. Ah. This one here? Kirafat sighed, giving up on the argument. She removed her hands from Benita's body and instead pulled her cheeks until they looked like fluffy marshmallows. Stop playing around. Get dressed quickly. If you catch a cold or get sick, I will punish you. And how are you going to punish me? In a way that makes you moan like now. All night long. Want to test it? I do, but not now. Bonita quickly replied before leaving Kirafat staring at her back and sighing. The purple marks on the girl's body made her furious, but she held herself back. She couldn't imagine how Bonita had endured all that throughout her life. If even her, an outsider, felt so much anger, how could Bonita deal with it? Bonita fell asleep almost immediately after laying her head on the pillow. She no longer sat there crying, because everything that weighed on her was soothed in the bathroom, along with her queen. Kirafat comforted her with words, looks, and gestures. Her heart finally seemed to heal, and Bonita didn't even notice the soft kisses she received on her cheeks, eyelids, forehead, and lips, along with a warm whisper in her ear. I can't protect you in your dreams, so don't have nightmares. I don't like not being able to help you. The next morning, Bonita woke up feeling a warm embrace around her body. When she opened her eyes, she saw Queen sleeping soundly beside her. breathing peacefully. At that moment, her face did not display the mischief and charm that it always carried when she was awake. Once again, Bonita felt safe by her side. Without realizing it, her fingers touched the tip of Kirifat's nose, lightly tracing the woman's features. Oops! Bonita jumped when her hand was grabbed tightly. Kirifat wasn't sleeping as soundly as she seemed. Why did you wake me up? I didn't wake you up. So, what do you call picking other people's noses? Good morning? Kirifat chuckled softly and opened her eyes. I thought you wouldn't wake me up. Well, I woke up, then. Did you sleep well? You squeezed me so tight that I dreamed I was being crushed by a snake. Kirifat raised her eyebrows. Seriously? How tight? Very. So, would you rather be squeezed by a snake or by me? What kind of question is that? They say that dreaming about snakes means finding your soulmate. Oh, so I was crushed by my soulmate. And who would that be? If I found my soulmate, that means I've already met her, right? Bonita pretended to think, and in the next instant, Kirifat bit her lower lip playfully. You were bitten by the snake. Now I need to remove the poison. Bonita laughed, surprised that Kirifat would act that way. The woman rubbed her face against her neck like a spoiled child. It wasn't something Bonita was used to seeing, but oddly enough, it made her feel at peace. What are you doing? The queen's poison has already reached you. What? Only the owner of the poison can remove it. Kirifat brought her face closer and pressed her lips gently to the same place where she had bitten her before. Bonita closed her eyes, accepting the gesture willingly. It seemed that, between them, kissing was already something natural. And then, what? The poison has already been removed. I think so. Bonita joked, joining Kirifat's wave. And have you found it? What? Your soulmate. If you haven't found it yet, I'll take you to a mirror. And Kirifat actually took her to a mirror. When Bonita didn't respond, Kirifat frowned, and even later, during breakfast, she still looked serious. Do you want me to peel the shrimp for you? Bonita asked softly, trying to please her, as she didn't know how to deal with that tension. The table was full. At the top was an imposing-looking man. Beside her were Lady Kirin and Kita. Kirifat sat on the other side of her mother, with Bonita by her side. For Bonita, sharing a meal like this had never happened before. She never imagined she would experience this moment. Kirifat looked at her, but didn't answer. Her mother, Lady Kirin, watched closely, curious to see how Bonita would handle her daughter's temper. Everyone in the family knew when Kirifat was angry or upset. And most of the time, she only calmed down when she got what she wanted. Queen. Bonita whispered, so only Kirifat could hear. If you don't talk to me, I'm leaving. She didn't want to threaten or raise her voice, but the silence at the table made her sentence echo throughout the room. Kirifat stared at her for a moment before finally opening her mouth to respond. Peel, that's all. The shrimp on the plate were meticulously peeled. During their time together, Bonita had memorized that she loved seafood, especially shrimp, but didn't like being the one to peel them. I want to eat fried rice with shrimp. Can you peel it for me? Do you know how to make shrimp porridge? Remove the shells, please. What about fried basil shrimp? Can you make it? Her orders were simple, but they always revolved around shrimp. If someone didn't know that, it would be strange. Here it is. Thanks. Kirifat picked up the peeled shrimp before returning one from her own plate to Bonita. This gesture drew attention again, especially from Kirin, who watched Bonita curiously. What had just happened was an unusual scene, as if he was watching a movie that had never been seen before in the world. Eat plenty. You need to take the antibiotic. I'm satisfied. At least eat the shrimp. I'm full. Kirifat sighed. Then peel it for me. I'll eat it later. Why are you eating so much today? I'm eating what you left on the plate. If you can't finish it, pass it on to me. Queen, if you're not satisfied, there's still more food in the kitchen. You don't have to eat the leftovers. Lady Kirin couldn't contain herself. She never allowed her daughter to do something like that. never taught her. At home, there was always plenty. There was no need to eat anyone's leftovers. It's okay, Mom. I can eat. Bonita had no way of avoiding Lady Kiran while she was in that house. Instead of waiting to be called, she went to the pavilion in the garden where the woman was resting. What are you doing here? I want to thank you for allowing me to stay here temporarily. This only happened because you came with my daughter. I know. Bonita clasped her hands in front of her body, as one should do when speaking to a respectable adult. This caused the marks of the injuries inflicted by her mother to become visible. Lady Kiran frowned and beckoned her over. What happened to you? May I ask? The atmosphere, look and tone of voice were incredibly similar to Queen's. If Bonita didn't know that mother and daughter fought frequently, she would have thought that Queen saw her mother as a role model in everything. Bonita's act of choosing to kneel instead of sitting next to Lady Kiran earned her some respect. But despite this, Kiran still didn't like that her daughter had brought a stranger into the family, especially considering the negative rumors that were circulating. Did you fight with someone?
No.
I was hurt by my mother. My God. Lady Kiran exclaimed in surprise. Bonita smiled slightly, seeing no reason to lie. If the woman had the courage to ask, she would have the courage to answer. After all, the truth always speaks louder. What really surprised her was Lady Kiran holding her arm to examine the marks. I'm fine. Thanks for your concern. Have you applied ointment? Queen applied it for me. Hearing this, Kiran became serious and carefully let go of Bonita's arm. About that. I understand that you two are developing some kind of relationship, but as a mother... Bonita didn't wait for her to finish. She raised her hand, asking for permission to speak. When Kiran nodded, she responded immediately. My mother always had expectations of me, always pressured me, always told me to do this and that. As you can see, she even hurt me.
So, if I can ask for something,
please allow Queen to choose who to love. You don't have to accept me. I never expected to be chosen. In the future, it may no longer be me who Queen brings to meet you. My daughter is demanding. She doesn't change her mind easily. Kiran interrupted. She knew her own daughter well. Even though she didn't like the fact that Bonita was a stranger with no status, she was intrigued by the person who had managed to enter this house. Yes. And precisely because of that, I pray that Queen never has regrets because of the person she loves. Queen is strict, but she's been very kind to me. So, I want the people around her to be kind to her too. Bonita's simple words made Kiran fall silent, assessing her with a calm and unreadable gaze. Queen is a lot like you. In what way? In gestures, the striking presence, the way of speaking, even in the gaze. No one has ever told me that before. You're the first. Bonita smiled. If I hadn't seen Queen challenging you with my own eyes, I would be sure that she is you as her model. Flattering me will not bring you any benefits. I know. It's good that you have that awareness. Just now, I helped the maids clean the kitchen. That's how I discovered the story behind Queen's love for shrimp. Has my household staff been spilling house secrets? These are just everyday details, Lady Kiran. But it made me realize how much Queen loves you. And that's why I don't want her to suffer for someone she loves. She really likes shrimp, doesn't she? Because when she was younger, you always made it for her, didn't you? Shrimps without shells and well peeled. I'll try to do the same for you if there is an opportunity in the future. If you're going to confess something, go talk to someone who wants to listen. It has nothing to do with me. Mrs. Kiran had been looking irritated for a while now upon hearing this, but it was also reflected in her heart, as she had been a very controlling mother recently. I feel jealous about Queen having Lady Kiran as her mother. That's all I wanted to say. Bonita had her reasons for speaking like this. She had heard from Mrs. Queen that Mrs. Kiran was forced by her family to marry without love. The marriage did not last long, and she ended up getting a divorce. Mrs. Kiran raised her 2 children alone, without any help from her ex-husband, until she met her current husband, whom she stayed with out of love. It is not easy for a woman to raise and care for 2 children, and it is also not easy to marry someone you do not love. Lady Kiran is an admirable woman for Bonita. In her controlling manner, she still displayed a great maternal sensitivity, something different from what Bonita had experienced in her life. Bonita didn't know if Mrs. Queen would think she was being bold and trying to teach a lesson, because before continuing the conversation, Mrs. Queen quickly entered, saying that she had something urgent to attend to and needed to leave the house immediately. "What were you talking to my mother about?" Kirafat asked as she got into the car. "She asked about the injuries." "Just that. Just that." "Okay then."
Why?
"Did you think I would actually be attacked?" "No, how so? My mother wouldn't do that." "Why?" "Because she knows that if she did that, I would be very angry. She may just be wanting the best for you, as she should be. And you want me to accept my mother's good intentions, is that it? If my mother wants me to marry someone I don't know, do you really want me to do that? That kind of thing. You have to decide for yourself, don't you? I'm asking you." Bonita looked at Mrs. Queen's impassive face before calmly replying, "If you ask me, I still reaffirm that I want you to be with me. That means I don't want you to be anyone else's." Is that all? Looks like someone liked my answer. Your answer even makes me want to try something with you. Try harder, who knows? Maybe I'll end up really falling in love with you.